I'm Devin Banerjee, and joining me now in the studio is Brian Sheth. Brian is the president and co-founder of Vista Equity Partners. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Devin. Appreciate it.
So Vista is quite unique in that it focuses exclusively on software and software-enabled businesses.
We do.
Why is that?
You know, there are a lot of reasons why when we started the firm we thought it was a good idea. The first one was that nobody else was doing it, and so we thought that was a good place to start. But when we started Vista in 2000, everyone was really excited about the opportunities that the web and the internet were going to bring to technology, but nobody was really focused on the fact that it was going to transform enterprise software from a world where it was customized to a world where it was configurable, and we thought that was a great opportunity.
So because of your focus on software, all of the CEOs of the companies in which you invest have this stable of other CEOs in your portfolio to learn from and share best practices because they're in the same space.
They do.
How does that work?
Well, I like to call it YPO for software. I'm probably going to get sued for that now, but you know, it's really one of the most incredible aspects of what Vista is. So there's really no other organization in the world that can take 60 A-type, super successful CEOs, bring them all together in a risk-free environment where they can all learn from one another, and most importantly from Vista's standpoint, help each other skip certain aspects of building their businesses. They don't have to relearn things or learn them for the first time. They can simply draft off of the great work that some of their other peers have done. And it's incredible to see how collaborative they all are. You know, many of them are great team builders, you know, naturally, and that's why they're successful CEOs. But very few of them have ever had an experience where they can work so well with other CEOs and not in a competitive or threatening way. And I think it's one of the things that they like best about being a part of Vista.
So I've covered private equity for almost a decade now, and I've never seen a firm that has a majority of its employees be focused on operations and operational improvement, and a minority as investment professionals. Why the heavy focus on operational improvement in your portfolio?
Yeah, it really comes from where we started. You know, for the first 7 years, we just managed one entity's money. And they were less focused on us buying cool companies. They were much more focused on what we were doing with those businesses. And part of the pitch from our standpoint was 75% of the companies we're going to buy are going to be from founders who have never done anything else other than build their own company. We're going to help those founders through the best practices that we've gotten from other investments and some other companies that we knew really well when we were investment bankers, learn and apply the things that we've done before. And by doing that, it's going to create a ton of value. Well, in order to do that from an investment standpoint, it's great to identify those businesses, but you need operational expertise to kind of help train that group of founders and their management teams how to do it. What makes Vista a little bit different is that our operations folks aren't former CEOs and COOs who sit on the boards of companies and kind of piggyback what the CEOs are doing. We have a functional-based approach to operational investing. So if you look at the organizational chart of VCG, it looks like a software company. So we have folks in go-to-market, we have folks in product development, we have folks in customer success, and what we do is we deploy those folks to help train our existing management teams on the best practices that we glean from all our other companies.
It appears recently that Vista has turned its eye a bit more closely on Asia. Why is that?
You know, it's appropriate that you ask that question at the Milken conference. Mike's all about data, and if you look at the data, you know, it's really the 21st century is going to be the Asian century. They're going to dominate in terms of population growth. They're going to dominate in terms of wealth management. And if you think about the transformation that's already occurred in China, that transformation is occurring now in both of our home countries of India. It's occurring now in the ASEAN countries, and they're going to need technology to do it. So we first pivoted towards Asia in terms of many of our limited partners are from there. We have several thousand employees, actually 10,000 employees that are in Asia today, and upwards of $1 billion in revenue. And it's our fastest growing region from a revenue standpoint.
Brian, what's your outlook for valuations in your space or in technology at large, let's say here in the US over the next year or so?
Yeah, I think that, thankfully, we didn't talk ourselves into a recession at the earlier part of this year. I think there was a danger in that. One of the things that constantly happens throughout the course of technology evolution, and people underestimate the productivity gains that we get as a society from it. It happened in the 90s with the advent of the web and the internet. It happened in the 2000s as we increased computing power and put it in the hands of people. And it's happening now as we have predictive analytics and ultimately artificial intelligence. And so I think you're going to continue to see valuations of some of the companies that are in those newer, hotter areas go up. And what most likely will happen to some of the companies that are still very important and very successful is on a relative basis, because they're not growing as fast as some of the new hot companies, they'll decline on that relative basis. And then we'll look for value kind of within that group. We are very focused on growth adjusted value. So sometimes you'll see Vista buying a company growing at 80%, and sometimes you'll see us buying a company that's growing at 10%. From our standpoint, it's really about what that growth adjusted premium that we have to pay for that business, and then work on transforming that business through our best practices.
Brian, a final question, and one about the culture at your firm. Another unique element I've noticed is that everyone at the firm is encouraged to participate in philanthropy, even if they're entry level. Why is that?
Robert and I are very atypical.
Robert Smith,
my partner, yeah, exactly. He and I didn't come from the traditional path of private equity. We both had tremendously humble backgrounds, and we feel very fortunate to be in the position that we're in. And we made a commitment to one another when we first started the firm in 2000, which was, when we get successful, and we said when, not if, we're going to create an engine, not just for our own wealth and that of our families, but to give back and make differences in the communities like the ones from which we came. And as we've had more success, I think our ambition has increased. So Robert has been tremendously influential, for example, in the African American community in North America. I've really focused on environmental challenges that we have as a society, specifically around wildlife conservation. And what we encourage all the folks at Vista to do is be passionate about something. And as great as the wealth that we create for our investors and for ourselves are, and how helpful that is to certain nonprofits, what the folks at Vista are really learning is how to run organizations and how to be successful and add value. And especially for our more junior people, that's the contribution that they can make at various nonprofits and community-based organizations. And so we want them out in the field, deploying their knowledge, adding back to the communities in which we operate, invest, and thrive, frankly. So that's where it comes from.
Brian, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Devin. I appreciate it.